what's your call? What's your gut feel here on New York City mayor's race?
I am going to check the weather and tell you. I just saw some. I guess it was maybe over the past day or two. The early voting numbers look great from Ron Donnie.
And that's because of where they're coming from?
Because where they're coming from. They're coming from Brooklyn and Manhattan. His weakest boroughs are like the Bronx. And this is off the top of my head, but in Brooklyn, it's like 132% more.
Yeah.
All the businesses have Zoran posters.
It is, it's crazy. In Manhattan, also 132% more, something like that.
That could just be pulling forward votes. There's a finite amount.
That is correct, which is why I just checked the weather.
Right.
On Monday, it's going to be in the high 90s. On Tuesday, it's going to be 100 degrees at 2 p.m.
Yeah.
And my sense is that if we look at enthusiasm,
banking those votes is important.
Banking those votes are important, particularly for Cuomo.
Right.
Because I do not
think... You have an older electorate that might not come out in 100-degree weather.
And I just think that the support for Cuomo is not as intense. It may be larger,
but it may not be
but
as
it's
deep.
not as deep. Yeah. And when you have an obstacle to voting, this is the sort of the classic thing, right?
That's interesting. I mean, seeing that Marist poll that came out that had a kind of a 10-point race, very much in line with Cuomo's internal polling, it seems to me that there is a larger electorate for Cuomo at the moment.
I think,
although that gap is shrinking.
I think that gap is shrinking, but I also think that, look, I don't know how many of these voting places, when there's a line, if it's not out the door, and I don't know
in 100-degree weather.
In 100-degree weather,
right?
I've met one Cuomo canvasser. This is a completely anecdotal story. He handed me the thing. I walked like a half a block and I'm like, I wonder. And I went back and I'm like, what is it you like about Cuomo? And the guy was just like,
I like getting paid.
I
like the check that he gives me every week.
And then so I went back up to where I was going and then walked back. He was gone already.
One thing that's interesting is I just got to the area just yesterday, but the ad war that is happening for and it's all anti-Mamdani. It's not pro-Cuomo. Is pretty staggering. In fact, Zoran today went to the city board of elections and said, you have to raise the cap because the super PAC money that Cuomo's getting is something like $24 million. So you have to allow me to spend more money above the cap because of all of these super PAC resources that are coming in.
Yeah, I wonder in a primary, in 95-degree weather, how much cable television ads impact the election. I mean, I don't.
What about that globalizing intifada controversy?
I just don't think that's going to be as. I think that was already locked in.
You mean the people who are going to vote against Mamdani for that reason already were going to vote
we're already going to vote against him. And if anything, so I think the Lander cross endorsement gives a permission structure for people who might have been on the fence. I mean, I think it's really going to come down to...
You going live on Tuesday?
Well, we go live every day.
On election night.
Oh, that's a good idea. I may...
I have your ideas? I'm the one coming up with these things for you?
I mean, it's, I play softball on Tuesday nights, but maybe...
I don't want to block your softball.
But maybe I will do that live from my softball game.
Live from the dugout.
Live from the dugout.
Exactly.
Checking Twitter for the...
But I think it's really just a question of who turns out.
Right.
And I think that's a much harder, as good as these polls are.
Yeah.
And I think, like in the Marist, I think it's a very reputable pollster. I think it's very, very difficult to assess who's going to come out.
Right.
You look at the last primary, 5 people came out to vote for that in the
Adams Garcia race.
Yes.
This is going to have much higher turnout than that. I mean,
well, that's what I'm saying.
And people are more engaged.
I think it's
going
to be. I think it's conceivable it could be 50% higher, maybe more.
Right.
And there's also a lot more sophistication about ranked choice voting that did not exist that time.
Right.
And so I think it's just
Right, because that was the first one. So you think like the escalation in terms of knowledge and engagement from one to the first race to the second race is pretty exponential.
yes. And so this is, and it's also interesting. Matt's putting this up here. Let's just go through this. Bill de Blasio, who I think never, ever, ever got enough credit for, nor did he do himself any favors until he seemed like never to talk about it.
Right.
But this, his universal pre-K, which he fought tooth and nail with Cuomo over.
Yeah.
I mean, Cuomo had basically tried to put a poison pill in there that would kill it at one point, but it was so amazingly popular.
Right.
And Cuomo got significantly weaker after just happenstance after this fight with Bill de Blasio. The pre-K and 3K.
3K, you mean 3-year-olds going?
Yes.
That's what that means?
It means the last 2 years prior to kindergarten
Right.
are universal, are paid.
Right.
And, by the city, essentially. And it is huge. It is so massive. And I think were it not for COVID, we would see huge gains in education achievement. So
Right.
I don't know. That's we'll see. Andrew Cuomo fought tooth
right.
and nail against that. David Dayen, I know you're going to get to lunch. Thank you so much for
Thanks a
coming
lot. Good
by.
to be here.
Always a pleasure to have you on the program.
All right. Thank you.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.